Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am Swanand S. I work as an instructor at Unnati Development and Training Center, and today we are going to see a kind of a best way to create a disk partition in RHEL9. And with me today I have Harshal Tathe, who works as an intern, and he will be handling the practical part of this particular demonstration. So basically, disk partition is a kind of a fundamental way aspect of managing the storage, and disk partitioning involves dividing your single physical disk into multiple different logical sections. So before we dwell into or dive into creating the partition, first we need to understand how you can add a virtual disk in your virtual machine. Here, Harshal will show you. Harshal, please go to the setting. Here you can find the storage part. By the way, I have a RHEL9 virtual machine installed on Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so here and go to the storage part. In the storage controller SATA, you can add a hard disk here. Press on click hard disk, create new one. Here there is basically a dialog box. Go to the next. Okay, next. Here you can say or specify how much storage you want to assign to a newly created disk. I will say 10 GB is fine for us. 10 GB and finish. Here you can see a test2.vdi disk is added, and I will choose that disk and it will be added into my virtual machine. Here you can see, and now we are going to start our virtual machine. Right till now our virtual machine was in the power off state. Please start the virtual machine. So yes, here we have our RHEL9 operating system or virtual machine started. I can show you using cat/etcos release. etcos release, there is type. etcos release. Yes, here you can see it is a RHEL version 9.4. Yes, and we have added our virtual disk. Let's check if the virtual disk is visible in this virtual machine. LSBLK. And here you can see the disk name SDB is added of size 10 GB. Okay, now we shall start the process of creating the disk. First of all, we are going to use the utility name parted, and the disk name, that is /dev/sdb. Here, and before we do anything, you can see -help option. This will help you in using the different utilities of this particular utility or different functionalities of this particular utility. Okay, so we are going to create our partition. Before we do that, let's print what is the status currently, and you can see there is a partition table that is unknown. In this particular demonstration, we are going to use the MBR partition table. So before we create any partition, we need to give a partition table name. For that, we have a mklabel command. Mklabel ms-dos. ms-dos specifies that we are going to use the MBR partition table. Yes, print. And here you can see the partition table is ms-dos. Now we have our disk, we have our partition table configured. Now let's create a partition. Before we do that, there are two types of partitions or three types of partitions you can create in MBR partition table. First, primary partition. Second, extended partition, and third, a logical partition. Basically, you cannot create a logical partition without an extended partition. So first of all, we will create a primary partition, and then we will go from there. Okay, so you can check help, or you can directly go for mkpart. mkpart. Here it is asking for partition type. I will give primary partition type. Okay, then file system type, I will take it as a default, no problem. Here, before start, I will give as a 1 MB because in the first sector of your disk resides the MBR partition table, right? So I will give 1 MB starting size, then ending at, let's suppose, 150 MB. Okay, no problem. Capital M, and I will say print. And here you can see the first partition is created of size 1049 MB. Now this is the part, you can create a primary partition. So let's quickly see how you can create an extended partition as well. MK part. Now instead of primary, I will give extended. Start value, it will be 1050 or 51. It might, yes. And then I will say, let's suppose remaining size I want to give to the extended partition. So I will say 100%. All the disk that is remaining will be allocated to extended partition. And if I do print now, you can see the second partition is created of size 9687 MB. Now that second partition is an extended partition. Now let's try to understand how you can create a logical partition. By the way, logical partition could only be created inside the extended partition. So we are going to create a logical partition here, MK part, logical partition. And yes, yeah, that is fine. And while giving the size, you need to be careful here. You need to give a size that is in that resides inside the range of your extended partition. So my extended partition starts with 1051 MB. So I will give 1052 MB. Right? Now I can give the size as per I require. Let's suppose 500 MB I need to create. So it will be 1552 MB. And print. Here you are able to see we have created a logical partition. And you might have observed that number of that logical partition is 5 because first 4 digits or first 4 counts are particularly secured or reserved for primary partition and extended partition. Logical partitioning numbering will always start with number 5. Okay. Now we have seen how you can create a partition. Then let's try to understand how you can store your data inside the partition. Okay. So I will come out of it. And now let's mkfs. This is a particular command which allows you to format a file system into your newly created partition. Mkfs dot, you can double tap to see all the options. Mkfs, here you can see all the options. I will use mkfs ext4. Oh, there is typo. mkfs.ext4 and partition name, that is /dev/sdb1. And here you can see if I do lsbl, you are able to see I have 3 partitions newly created. So I will mount my first sdb1 partition as a temporary mount. Then we will see a persistent mount as well. Okay. So before I mount my partition, I need to create a mounting point for it. So mkdir/mymount. Okay. And now the important command, that is mount source and destination. Source will be my partition name and destination will be the directory I have created right now. Here there is a typo here. You can see SDB and SDB1. So basically we need to do this. And if I do df-h, you are able to see the /dev/sdb1, that is my newly created partition, that is mounted on the directory name /mymount. This is the way you can temporarily mount your partition. Now there is one more way you can mount your partition, that is persistent mounting. For that, you need to make an entry into /etc/fstab5. So let's go for that. I will mount the logical partition as a persistent heap. Okay. Before that, we need to create a mounting point, and we need to file format the SDB5 partition as well. mkdir/mymount2. That is fine. Okay. And now mkfs. This time I will use, let's suppose, ext2 for a change. Okay. Space /dev/sdb5. That is my logical partition. Okay. Now let's go into the fstab5. Go into the last row using Ctrl-G and make a new entry. Here, now there are two options here. First of all, there are two ways you can specify. Either you can specify the name of the partition, or you can use something known as BLKID. Okay, so first of all, we'll do the demo using a name, and then I will show you how you can how you can use a BLKID instead of a name. Okay, so first of all, name slash dev slash SDB2, sorry, SDB5, my mistake, and then specify the mounting point, that is slash my mount. Third field is known as your type, file system type. In my case, the file system type is ext2, and then defaults 0 and 0. The details regarding these last three fields you can find in the man page. Let me show you quickly where you can find the details regarding this last three fields. If you do man slash etc slash fs tab, you are, oh, my mistake, etc is not required. It is just fs tab. Here you can find, if you go down a little, their first field, second field, third field. Here is the fourth field, and here are the details regarding the fourth, fifth, and sixth fields. I will not go into that depth. So here now, let's check if we have mounted our newly created partition df-h. Here you are not able to see the SDB5 because we have not executed the command mount-a. What mount-a will do? Mount-a will mount all the entries into the fs tab, which are mentioned in the fs tab file. If you face this kind of error, you can just simply say systemctl daemon reload, and that will solve the issue. Okay, and let's see df-h one more time. Here you can see dev slash sdb5. It is mounted on slash my mount partition. Okay, now let's create one more partition, a logical partition, and this time we will mount that partition using a BLKID. Okay, parted. We will quickly go through it. Parted slash dev slash sdb print. The size is 1552, so we will take 1553 mk part. Logical, then ext2, that is fine, 1553, and you can take 200 MB or any choice. Let's go 1753, that is fine. Okay, and quickly print it. Here we can see, now we can quit. And earlier there was one step we have not executed, that is important, that is part probe. Make sure in the earlier demo, we have not executed this command, but this command is important. What part probe command will do? Part probe command will basically refresh your disk slash dev slash sdb. Okay, yes, and now mkfs to file format our newly created partition, that is ext3, no problem, this slash dev slash sdb6. Okay, now we need to see what is our BLKID. Here you can see the UUID here as well, or you can use the command BLKID and partition name, that is slash dev slash sdb6. Here you can see UUID. You can copy this particular field, no, till the semicolons, sorry, inverted commas. Okay, and go back to the fs tab file. VIM slash etc slash fs tab. This time, instead of using partition name, we will be using the ID which we have copied. Then space, this is the ID, then no mounting point. Okay, you can enter the mounting point. We will create it later on. Slash my mount 3 space ext3 this time, then space defaults 0 0. Save it. Let us type. Yes. We have not created mounting point. Create it mkdir slash my mount 3. Okay, and we mount hyphen F. Now you are able to see yes systemctl daemon reload as well. df hyphen h, and you are able to see we have mounted our newly created partition as well, right? I hope this is helpful. So that is it for this video. I hope you liked the video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye and take care.